Well, I want to welcome everyone to the Manifest Telecast. This is a very special program, at least for me. So I want you to get your kids and your grandkids together. And moms and dads, you need to listen. This is my daughter, Amanda Stone. And I want to have her share with you. We're going to kind of go back and forth. We are tag team preaching on Saturday night. You don't know, I'm so excited about this. Tag team preaching on Saturday night at Warrior Fest, Summer Warrior Fest. Thousands of young people are going to be there. And Amanda, you have just graduated from the Ramp School of Ministry. So I want to begin by asking you, Ramp School of Ministry is the ministry of Karen Wheaton, and she has a great school with hundreds of students in Hamilton, Alabama.
Yes.
And I'm going to be teaching there from here on out in the fall. I'm going to be one of their teachers. Going to spend a week down there. We're so excited about that. You have no idea. She dresses me, so I was asking her, Dad, how should you dress? She says, wear just a nice t-shirt. It's very informal.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of shirts I wear. I said, I have skinny arms, and I look like a skeleton. And she says, they don't care, Dad, about your arms. She was cracking me up. But why did you choose the Ramp several years ago?
Yeah. Well, when I was graduating high school, I remember just kind of coming to this crossroads point where I didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do with my life. And so I didn't really feel a pull to college. And I didn't, honestly, at that point in my life, really feel a pull to ministry either. But I went to a winter ramp in Cleveland, Tennessee, which is...
Explain what that is.
Yeah, so it would kind of be similar to a Warrior Fest. It's just a youth conference.
Big, lots of young people.
A really big youth conference, yes. So a lot of youth groups will come from all over, to be a part. And it's amazing. We've gone since I was young to winter ramp. And so we had one here in Cleveland at our building. And so I remember going and seeing the booth for RSM. And my first thought was...
Which is Ramp School of Ministry.
The Ramp School of Ministry, yes, the Ramp School of Ministry. So I saw the booth, and my first thought was that I probably wouldn't go there just because we had a very similar atmosphere here at our home church. And even then, I remember it kind of went with me for the rest of the weekend, just this thought of what if I actually went to the Ramp School of Ministry? And that night, it was the last service, the New Year's service. I had just prayed about it that weekend, and I said, Lord, I feel a pull here, but I don't really want to go here. I don't really want to leave home, and it kind of scared me, the thought of leaving home, because I never saw myself leaving home. But I remember I said, you need to confirm it before this weekend's over if I'm supposed to go. And it was really a small moment, but it was, for me, a big moment when we were in the service, and Mom just turned around to me, and she was like, Amanda, would you ever think about going to the Ramp? And for her to ask that question, because she would never have wanted me to leave home.
She wanted you around. We were going to give you a job here.
Of course,
really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for her to ask that question, I was like, man, I hadn't said anything to her. And so I was like, Lord, is this you telling me to go? And I just knew. It was never really a direct word from the Lord, but I just knew that that's where I needed to go.
And that's what all of you need to understand. Sometimes God doesn't speak audibly.
Yeah.
Sometimes He doesn't give you a vision or dream. It's a little tiny something down in there that you can't get away from. It's like you think about it, wow, and you can't get away from it. And this is sometimes the way the Lord directs, especially a young person, is not every other voice, what should I do, what should I do? Because you'll get 10 different answers, won't you?
Yep.
You got to know yourself what the will of God is, and you do it by that, here it is, still small voice.
Yep.
So you went.
Yeah.
So how did it change your life?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think the greatest there are so many things, honestly. I think
the community's tied in.
It's the community.
I was like, great.
It's the community.
I mean, I've noticed that. Now, she's a social butterfly. I'm not. I'm just kind of to myself. Dad's a loner. I get along great with just you and Mom and the kids.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I have to have. But Amanda is, and I want to say this about you, you've always been for what I call the underdog. When you were out eating as a kid by themselves,
don't get emotional.
You've always been the kind of girl that says, Daddy, I need to go talk to her. And you always are with the person that's had the hard time in life, the person that has had a rough family life, the parents went through a divorce, and you are attracted to, and I hate to cry on TV, it looks just like you're drunk, you got red eyes and everything, but I'm not. Of course, I don't drink. But I want to say to you that we've seen the change and the maturity level, which is unbelievable. And we went through some things for a season, and she was like my little hero. She would say, Dad, you look at this verse in Psalms. This is exactly what we're dealing with. Dad, it was amazing. She would send me verses. She would text me entire verses. And between you and Mom, what a great team you were.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, wow, both of them are such helpers to people in need. And I think our whole family has been guilty. Our whole family has been directed our entire life to help people involved in ministry. Now, I want you to share something here that you occasionally share publicly. And I want to tell the story because what happened was at a Warrior Fest several years ago, Mom came to me and said, Perry, a man is going to tell a story tonight you don't know, but she's very afraid of how you're going to react. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what is she going to say? And when you said what you said, it broke me up so bad, and I started saying, God, why wasn't I there? Why didn't I discern? Why didn't Amanda feel like she could come to me? So you don't have to go into the minute details, but tell us just a little bit about what happened to you when you were, because there's a ton of kids, tons of them, that this is happening to, and the parents don't even know it.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. What happened, and what you said that to the whole 6,000 kids that were there, which that took a lot to do, honestly.
Yeah. Well, so I was obviously raised in a Christian home, raised in church my whole life. We were on the road since I could remember, traveling to churches and doing conferences. And, I knew God. I knew about God. I knew about the Word. But even from a young age, I didn't really have a relationship with the Lord. And I didn't really want to. It's kind of weird because you would think that if you were raised in church, you would just kind of want to know the Lord. But I really didn't when I was young. I just had no desire. So I think from a young age, that was kind of a way that the enemy even just kind of there was a little open door in my life where it was like, I didn't know the Lord. I didn't walk in relationship. So the door was...
You actually went to church for your friends. To see your friends. Wasn't that really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you hated church. You went to church, but it was mostly Emily and Leah's there and had asked. They were your friends.
Well, yeah, and I think
some kids do that.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between you go to church and you almost know religion more than you know the Lord. And I think that was kind of the way I was growing up. I knew religion. I knew you do the routine, you go to church. But it never really hit my heart. It was like I had so much head knowledge of, okay, I know who God is. I know what it looks like to be a Christian, but in my heart, I didn't know the Lord. And so when I was 11, I just kind of had this like casual approach to life where I was just kind of living life. I was on the road with them and all that. And when I was 11, I was exposed to pornography for the first time. And I remember, I didn't really know what it was. I was raised in church, so I was kind of like, almost naive in a way because I was homeschooled. I wasn't in school. I didn't really know any of that stuff. But I remember I didn't know that it would have an effect on me. I didn't know that it would grip my life, but it did. And so from the age of 11 to about 15, I was just addicted to pornography. And it changes your whole mindset, really, especially being a kid in church. So I'm still in church through this time. I'm still going to church. I'm on a dance team, so I'm doing ministry and struggling with this. And I believed this lie, one, that girls didn't struggle with that, so I could never tell anybody. And two, that I couldn't talk about it because it was not really at that time talked about a lot in church. And so I just believed these lies, and that the Lord didn't want anything to do with me, that God didn't love me because I was addicted to this, and so he couldn't love me anymore. So just all these lies. And even while I'm still in church and I'm still around good community, because I was so isolated and I kept it in and I kept it in the dark, I was still in this cycle of sin. And I remember that I would go through weeks where I would really struggle with it. And then the next week I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I don't want this anymore. But obviously it had such a grip on my life that I would just fall right back into it because I hadn't exposed it. And so.
Now I don't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But now you just said it because I hadn't exposed it.
It's the big
What
thing.
made the difference? How did you get out of it? I'm telling you, there's young people watching me. They've never told their parents. Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then the parents wonder, what did you see? What did you do? Then you're afraid to say it because of the embarrassment, and then how much do I have to explain? So I know there's youth watching me. So what helped you to really break it? Because I know it broke.
Yeah. Well, I think that there has to come, first of all, a level of desperation where you just say, I'm really done with this, you know? When something has a hold on your life like that, whatever it is, it doesn't even just have to be pornography. I mean, it can be like drugs, alcohol. Honestly, at this point in our culture, just one foot in church, one foot out, you know, where you're just kind of like going through the motions, whatever it is, things that grip you and lifestyles that you live in. I think that when you bring it to the light, that's when really you find true freedom, because as long as it's in the darkness, the enemy will always have a hold on you in that area. And something we always say too at the Ramp is we talk about community accountability, and how in community, when you bring something to the light, if you're struggling, whatever it is, there's accountability in that, because you know there's somebody then that can say, hey, how are you doing? Are you still struggling with this? And I think it's important too for especially parents or whoever you go to, you know, when somebody comes to you and brings something to you to say, hey, I'm struggling with this, I'm dealing with this, to love that person and to say, hey, like, you know, obviously love covers, but also love doesn't condone wrong action. So there's a really weird balance.
That's a good point. Wow.
But I remember something that really impacted me was the first time that I shared that. I was terrified. I was so terrified.
You were sharing this first time. I had didn't know it.
Yeah.
Your mama didn't know it. You were in front of thousands of kids and said, I
Yeah.
want to share something. And she just starts talking about addiction to pornography. We didn't know it. Now,
Yeah.
you're about 16 at the time, is that right?
It's probably 16, yeah.
And she's opened up her heart. She's making herself vulnerable. And one of the things she said was, being our daughter, she thought it would bring, it would embarrass
Yeah.
the family if she, Howard was Perry Stone's daughter. You got to stop thinking like that.
Yeah.
You got to quit worrying about what people think. My son struggled with alcohol and drugs. We don't drink. We
Yeah.
don't believe in it. We don't drink any alcohol. We're teetotalers. And despite that, he got addicted.
Yeah.
And one time he said to me, he said, Dad, I'm just embarrassing you in the town. I said, I don't care about the town.
Yeah.
I care about you. And parents, you've got to get to the point where you don't care what anybody thinks, what anybody in the church thinks.
Yeah.
You love that child enough to say,
Absolutely.
so go ahead, honey, I didn't want to interrupt
Absolutely.
you. So you got up and told, and
Yeah.
you exposed it to the light.
Yes, I brought it to light. Well, I had gone to leaders in my life up to this point. Like, that wasn't the first time I'd ever said anything about it on a stage. But I had gone to leaders. I went to Mom. I was so scared to tell you, though. I was so scared.
What did you think I was going to do?
I don't
I've
know.
never asked you
Well,
that.
but that is a part of that. What the enemy really does to your mind is, because you've lived in this for so long, you start to believe, well, nobody's going to love me. Everybody's going to see me differently. If I expose this, then they're going to disown me. You know, just all these lies that come with it. So it's really more than just you're struggling with this issue. It's like you open the door for the enemy to come in, and with it comes shame and guilt and condemnation and all those things. So I think I was still believing that in a way. Even when I went to Mom, I was still believing that. But I remember, after I shared my testimony, I was so scared to see you. I sent you a text before, and I was like, I'm about to share something you've never heard before. Please love me. And then I went on stage and I said it because I just felt like,
Yeah.
you know, I had walked through this and I was ready to bring it to the light to help other people.
Wow.
And so I remember after I was done, it was the altar call, and you just came over and you found me, and all you did was just hug me, and you said, I love you, and I'm proud of you, and nothing that you've ever done will change that. And I remember in that moment, it was not just you, but it was like I heard the voice of the Lord in that, saying, I love you, I'm proud of you, nothing you'll ever do will change that. And so it was like that moment was more freedom for me
Praise God.
than even, you know, being set free from pornography, because it was like, now I'm free, but I also know that the Lord and my dad and my family and the people around me, they love me and they don't see me differently. And so I think that even that, you know, when somebody exposes it, like, that's the right response, because
Yes.
that's the heart of the Lord.
Yes,
is,
that's right.
You know,
My.
to love. So.
And God took you from there to School of Ministry. You received
Yep.
a call.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to tell you something. The first time she took the microphone to testify, I'm not kidding, and I say that with you sitting here, I looked at her mom and said, the oil's on her. And that means, that's an old Pentecostal statement of the anointing. All the kids knew it. They all knew. They said, Amanda's going to teach or preach. Amanda has a gift. So God gave you, and I saw it because God gave it to me when I was a teenager. I was 16, 17, 18. People would say, this boy, they called me boy, this boy, he looks, preaches like you've been preaching for 40 years. And then they start comparing me in Virginia to T.L. Lowry, which I thought was a great compliment. Oh my goodness, Dr. T.L. Lowry, the great man tent preacher, he's going to be another T.L. Lowry. That's what they used to say, T.L. Lowry. And he was my mentor, by the way, one of my mentors. And so God has done this. And so now you have a call, and you're pursuing that. You're in an intern program, working in an intern program. And we have said to her that although we want her back in the ministry here, and I'm getting ready to do some things. I think I'm going to go ahead and say this by faith. But 3 things have opened up to us. One is to teach at the Ramp several courses at the Ramp School of Ministry in Hamilton. And if you are a young person and you have any call to the ministry, I'm just telling you something. Education has changed. I remember as a young preacher, there was a Christian university with our denomination, and it was like, now if you don't go there and get your degree, you ain't going to amount to nothing in the church. And that's how it used to be, and they really believe that. Education has now gone online. Education has gone to 90-day intensives. Education, and you got people that go to these major universities and have a large debt, and yet they come out and they end up working at a shoe store or a car dealership. Now, there's nothing wrong with working at those places, but that's not what they went to school for. And I'm seeing now a change in the educational system from ministry to 30, 90-day intensive programs to 1 to 2 years at a mentoring institute. And I'm telling you, it's not just learning knowledge. I've seen guys come out of Bible schools with head knowledge. And one guy told me, he said, man, I spent 4 years there and they never told me how to do ministry. Well, that school tells you how to do ministry. And the knowledge and so on. So I just want to say to any parent there or any young person watching me, get your degree later if that's what you want. And of course, if you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, educator, there are certain things you have to do, and we understand that. But if you're talking music ministry, missions, education, children's ministry, marketing and ministry, arts, drama, music, I mean, this is the kind of thing God is doing now. So I just want to say I'm proud to be part of Ramp School of Ministry in Hamilton. We go a week out of a month on an average, and so that's the plan. And then here we have a Cedar Lodge with dormitories that in 2022, probably beginning in the summer or the fall, we're going to be opening up an intensive program. We're not sure if it's going to be 4 weeks, a month, it'll be no longer than 3 months, for missions and evangelism and people who want to be, that's your ministry. You want orphanages, you want to know about feeding the poor, you want to know about revivals, you want to know about tent meetings, evangelizing. Evangelism is your heart. That's a whole nother thing. That's another thing that our ministry, Dr. Cutshaw and I. And the third thing, and I'm not going to say a lot about that because we haven't developed it fully, but I have a heart. My son almost died twice of an addiction. And I said, devil, you're going to pay. And that's why Omega Center International was built. You know that story. And I believe that one of the things the Lord wants us to do is to be able to build a major wholeness center for young people. And we can't take people in detox, and we're not going to be able to do that. But if young people have an addiction, they got that root, just like you or Jonathan, you have a root in the Bible, but you got this horrible addiction you're dealing with, is to get them away for 30 days to 90 days, and some of them may be a half a year to a year, in a center. And we've got the property and the facility to build this on. Now, the negative is building is up 40%, and it's going to cost millions of dollars that we don't have. But God has always helped me. And so we want to build an addiction center. And here's the part, and I've got to be careful saying this because we're going to get calls on this now, and it's not even built. But I don't want to have to charge people all this money for a program. I want to be able now this is going to sound crazy, and I don't even know how we're going to do this. I'm just telling you my vision, to let them come at no charge. Now the problem is there's thousands of kids and we can only house so many. But to let them come at no charge, we're paying all the bills, the expenses, the counselor's bills, all the food. This is what I'm planning. And then let them come, and a poor family has no burden to pay it back. There's no pay. So and where I get it from is St. Jude's Hospital, that people shouldn't have to worry about paying bills when their kids have cancer. And I thought, wow, Denny Thomas, you were a genius. God spoke to you. God bless you. He was a good Catholic brother, from what I understand. And so I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know who's going to help me to do it. But I need some people one day to say, Perry, we're going to help you with these. We're going to help you with these kids, because if you've ever had a child that has suffered and almost come near death, you know, oh God, how many other kids? When Jonathan, your brother, went to the hospital, the doctor told me 18 kids had already died the past couple months doing the same thing he did. Yeah. And now we're fighting for his life, and he'll remember this. So, Amanda, thank you for joining me. Mm-hmm. Warrior Fest, we're tag teaming on Saturday. We will in 2022, God willing. COVID's going to die one day. COVID, not the people, COVID. But we're going to go back to having a couple Warrior Fest a year. As you know, that's a call of God on our life. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be involved with mentoring and teaching kids. My traveling schedule will not be as heavy as it was. Pam says no more heavy traveling. I agree. I'm enjoying myself too much, and the grandbabies. But we're going to do some things for God in selective areas. And if we come to your area, I want you to come and hear me preach, because it'll be great. Love you, girl.
Love you.
And we're going to do great things for Jesus. I got a very special offer. Please get this. It will help you to understand the Word of God and the prophetic word. Please give me your undivided attention. Many months ago, I began to hear secular economists announce a new global reset was coming. That's when I heard this phrase in my spirit, the American apocalyptic reset. For several weeks, I woke up early and began receiving a series of stunning prophetic downloads that I penned and now have placed them all in my brand new prophetic book, America's Apocalyptic Reset. This book is a must-read for all Christians, for all of those who love Bible prophecy, for conservative Americans and American patriots. The 19 chapters go extremely deep into exposing the agenda now being secretly plotted and to be publicly forced upon us, the American people, and how we can counter it. I discovered some very stunning ancient prophetic parallels and patterns, some that go back 4,000 years, that are repeating themselves in the United States right now. I deal with America's great Babel reset and the planned persecution of Christians, America's self-curse that will eventually bring judgment upon the nation, the coming Jezebel clash, the woman who will be president, how she would react and wisely resist corrupt governments. I reveal the unique Silicon Valley parallels and also go into the plans to bankrupt, then reset America economically. Also, I talk about how to function when the church must go underground. I received a very unique revelation concerning President Trump and a pattern that's found in history. There's a chapter also that I deal with how did the prophets get it wrong, and so much more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the most significant prophetic book in the history of my ministry, especially in the time that we're in. But that's not all. I'm also including my most recent inside information prophetic briefing on 2 audio CDs. It's 2 hours in length, and I will release detailed information that I cannot, and I want you to hear me, I cannot nor will I share this on social media or on television, as absolutely in the climate that we're now in, a lot of this information would be targeted for being blocked and banned if it was made public and not done in this private setting that we're doing it in. These 2 hours contain biblical, political, national, and international revelation and information that I am sure that many of you have not been aware of. It is for truth lovers only. I want you to order right now this prophetic resource package, my brand new book, The Apocalyptic Reset, and the 2-hour prophetic CDs by going online at perrystone.org or calling 1-888-21-BREAD, or write me at Perry Stone, P.O. Box 3595, Cleveland, Tennessee 37320. Now, we're making this available for your donation of $35 or more, and you can request the offer APR-140. That's APR-140. I'm going to unmask the radical globalists and individuals who have set out to oppose and silence Christians, silence patriots, and shut the mouth of conservatives. And we will show you in the book what we can do when we unite together. We are looking forward to getting this into your hands. Most of you know that we have come to a brand new time in the history of America. And as a result of what is called the counterculture or the cancel culture, that if you go on media in any form and begin to share controversial things that are controversial to particular groups, then they attempt to shadow ban you or stop what you're saying. The material that we're getting ready to put out, the material with our new book and the new 2-hour CD album, are things I'm not going to be sharing on television. And this is why it's very important that you come to a local meeting and where you get the unedited version. Evangel World Prayer Center, July 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, Thursday night through Sunday night. Join me at the World Prayer Center on Billtown Road in Louisville, Kentucky. Then August the 13th and 14th, the Willis campus. I love Texas people, man. You Texas people, you drive down there and pack that place out, okay? Show me that you love the Word. You always do every year. Friday and Saturday, August 13th and 14th. And by the way, there'll be some morning services on the weekends in a lot of these meetings. On the 15th of August, Family Faith Church, Huntsville campus. And Brother Hackelman, we can't wait. Jeff, we love you guys. You know, we're all crazy about you. You know that. And we can't wait to be there with you at the church. And then in August 27th, 28th, and 29th, that's a Friday night, 2 services Saturday, all day Sunday. Christ Temple Church, Pastor Chuck Lawrence in Huntington, West Virginia. And my staff tells me that is one of the churches that they love going to as much as any church. The sweetest people are up in that part of the country. And of course, you all know, anyway, I'll get carried away here and might start crying, so I don't want to do that. But I want to say something. On next week's program, I'm going to take a few minutes and share with you something that I believe the Lord has now released me to do, which is the continuation of a vision that I had several years ago. And we believe the time has now come. And I'm going to share with you a phase of a ministry that I'm about to enter into that I believe it's now time to do that. And another area that God is opening the door. And I just want to talk to my heart. My partners know about this. My closest friends know about it. My family at Ramp Cleveland OCI know about it. Now I want to tell you about it, and that will be next week. So get the offer. Don't forget it. And God bless my little girl. She's precious. I hope you enjoyed her.